Hello, everybody, and welcome to this year's 2000. Already messing it up. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this year's 2019 Reading Spreadsheet Overview. We have a brand new spreadsheet to share with everybody for their book tracking and reading tracking needs. So this year, we're going to go through a bit of an overview for the whole thing. Let me just bring it up here. So there's a download link in the description where you can pull this. In order to save it to your own drive, just go up to File, click Make a Copy, and then you can name this however you want and put it in whichever folder that you like. And that way you can have access to and start using this for your own purposes. To start using the spreadsheet, I'm going to show you some of our major... Well, to start, I'm going to show you some of the major changes, and then we're going to go through some of the operation of the spreadsheet at the same time. So if you click on the Get Started tab down here at the bottom, we see a very, very simple thing. All we have to do is fill out these numbers. So I'm going to say, hey, I want to read 50 books this year. I'm going to type in 50 books. If I have a monthly reading goal of, say, about 5 books a month, yay, I'll type in 5 books. How many books you have on your TBR pile. So the shelf behind me, I have, I don't know, more than enough to count for sure. I don't know, maybe I'll just say 150 books. To start that, the count, of course, for you will differ. One of the new things we have on the spreadsheet this year is budget. And if you know how much you want to spend per month or have a goal that you would like to reach for your spending, you can enter that here. I'm going to type in, now I'm going to put in 30 bucks a month so I can buy like a new hardcover book every month or something. And if your library has any fees, you can enter that here as well. Which leads us into the categories tab. So actually, before we get into categories, all the information that is entered here can be used or is used throughout the spreadsheet to calculate different things. This is the information that mostly changes, but you only really have to worry about it here. Everything else from this point, everything else from these numbers gets automated throughout the rest of the sheet. Under categories, this is where we program our spreadsheet with all the options that you like for yourself as a reader. So one of the things we have is publisher. So there's a bunch of different publishers, and we're all different reading people. We all get our books from different places. And so one of the places I like to get my books from in terms of publisher, I know there's Tor, there's Orbit. Oh, sorry. Backing up. If you have a number of publishers that you frequent, or if you need to add more throughout the year, you can add them here. And it's the same for any other option item under this spreadsheet. Most options will simply go as far as the blue cell here. Anything further, and the spreadsheet won't keep track of it. That's where you'll have to modify it yourself if you want to add more things. But we have a fair number of slots for genre and format and publisher. This year is, I believe you can go to 100. You can do 100 publishers this year. That's finally been done. People have been telling me how there isn't enough room for publishers. This year you don't have to worry about it. And we have 100 publishers. If you run out, there is a way to make more, and there is a way to do it pretty easily, and I'll show you that down the line. So just to set this up a little bit, I know that I'm going to be buying books from Tor, Orbit, probably DAW. What other publishers do we have here? We've got Bayan. Just get a few more on the thing here. So let's just say, I know I'm missing some. We got Saga Press. So you can enter any number of things you want here. Now the key to this is once you have entered these in, do not move them around. So, and then later on we'll see all the exciting stuff that this thing actually generates. So that's actually probably enough for publishers. And I know that for chapters, Amazon, library, location, now depending on the country where you live, the stores that you frequent might be different. I also forgot we need to add a gift category here. Sometimes you get books as gifts. Sometimes I get books from a publisher, so I'll put that in there. And location can pretty much be like the stores, used bookstores, new bookstores, websites that you frequent. So, Book Depository, for example, when I learn how to type. All right. So countries has been expanded. No, it has not been expanded. there are some countries on here, and you can fill in countries. Now, most of this part hasn't changed from last year. Most of it's the same. I just need to check one thing about our 5-star ratings. Yes, that's fine. So once you've filled in a few options here, just remember, do not drag these around. Don't click and drag this cell anywhere else. That can cause some problems. But once we've got this entered, we can head over into acquisitions. Now, this is where you enter the books that you're buying and the books that you're purchasing. One of the changes that we've made this year is we've given the entire spreadsheet a little bit of a visual refresh and a little bit of an overhaul when it comes to the fonts used, just to make it a little more presentable. I've been seeing a lot of spreadsheets that just have a lot of nice, a nicer look to it. Not necessarily reading spreadsheets, but spreadsheets that just have a nice look to them. And I felt that we needed to bring this in line a little bit more with itself. Uh-oh. One second here. Okay. Oh, hey. I mean, we also have people watching the stream. That's great. I will be answering questions for the chat later. I'm just going to try and get through as much of this as I can. So, for those of you who have been through the spreadsheet before, most of this will be old hat, but for those of you who are new to the spreadsheet, and we have a lot of different things to kind of go through. So say you acquire a book, whether it be through buying from a store, using from a library, this is where you enter your information. And while the amount of information you could enter into this spreadsheet is a bit daunting, you don't need to enter it all right away. As long as you enter the basics like the date, the title, and the author, most of this will fill in and it will be very, very good. So I'm just going to refresh my camera here. My camera does not like to stay. Oh, that's the chat. What am I doing? There we go. Okay. So, hi everybody. We have the date. So I'll just double click, enter the date here. So say I bought a book today. Congratulations. I bought a really awesome book. Also, to use the spreadsheet download link is in the description below. Doobly-doo. You can enter the author. So author can be some cool person. You fill in, as long as you fill in those 3 things, everything else can be filled in later. That's what I end up doing a lot of the times. I'll just enter a couple of dates for, things that I've gotten, and then I'll just fill in the rest later, because the rest of it can be looked up or researched, from indexes, Goodreads, wherever. Another really awesome book. And a book that looks interesting. Written by author person, another author person. Actually, I wonder if I should go through the big overview of all the changes that have happened since, rather than doing the same. Hey, it feels like every year I start this thing from scratch for people, but it seems like it's always a good idea. We have added. You know what? I'm getting off track. I have notes, but we're just going to go through this. So, say you can enter things like age group. We'll just throw in a quick one here. This one was in a YA. You can throw in your genres, your favorite genres. Even how long the book was. And we'll just do these ones very, very quick. Format, the publisher. There's our publishers that we were filling out. So you basically get all these little options that you enter in categories here as drop downs on the acquisition and book summary page. So one thing that's handy with budgets is that I can enter in the cost of a book. Say I paid $5 for this, $5 for that. Say they were all $5, but I know that they were $20 at the bookstore. This one was say $15.99, whatever. You can enter $4.50. Maybe that was on sale. So this will start saying, hey, you saved this much. And we have a little bit of information here. And all the information that's on this section actually is now repeated in full on the book summary section. I put it here so that we could at least see. I put it here and there so you can see it in both places, because I like checking the numbers while I'm on this tab. So if you bought it from a certain bookstore, say you bought one online, you got one as a gift, great. There's even if it's a physical or digital copy. Now, as long as you fill all these things out, the spreadsheet is designed to figure this all out for you later on. So there's very little lifting that you should have to do. Say we got this as a purchase. Actually, let's put this one as 0 and say we got that one for free. And this one was from the library, in which case I'll still put 0, sure. And so we'll go new, and if it's from the library, and say this free one, hey, say it was used, sure. All right, so now we've got, and we're just going to say that we read all those. So if I read these, this will also show us the total value of how much we've read. So, if I say I spent $5 on books, and I read $5 worth of those books, so go me. Most of these numbers are pretty self-explanatory, and I don't feel like I need to go through them. So the book survey is pretty much the same thing. You can say, one thing from acquisitions. So when you add stuff to acquisitions, actually one thing from getting started, the number of books you have on your TBR being the number of books that you started, this year with, or that you started using the spreadsheet from. If I have 150 books and I buy or receive these 3 books, those 3 books go on to the count. So if I have 151 and I bought 3, it now says I have 154 books. And if you need a reminder from a library, you can actually say, hey, you can put a date in here just before I forget. So that way, if this thing goes red, it'll say, hey, your book is overdue. Get it back to the library, silly. But you can also mark if you've returned it, or if there was a person or friend who was kind enough to lend you their books. You can write their name in there. Back to book survey. So, a really awesome book, The Sequel, because books are called sequels nowadays. One of the things that I did was I moved start and finish from the far right of the spreadsheet right here to the beginning. So now, really, all you have to enter is the date you started the book and the date you finished a book. And we'll put in a couple more books here just for fun. So, I don't know, we'll just go having to think up titles here. One on my thinking with type. And The Lifestyles of Boris blah blah blah. The Lifestyles of Boris blah blah. There we go. Okay, so let's add another date in here. So yeah, when you start a book and then when you finish a book, you can just throw your dates in there. Wonderful. And now I need to take the DNF one out of this. This is the thing. This spreadsheet, I haven't quite. One of the things I want to do is make it so you don't need a DNF tab, which means did not finish. You didn't finish a book, which is fine. But what I've got right now is as you finish books here, it'll shrink your TBR count. And if you if you don't like a book and you really didn't like it, so if I just like a really sucky book by Herbert J. Sucky Book, what I do is I transfer my DNF books into here, and I just say this is the date that I didn't finish it. When I gave up on it, threw my hands in the air and said, that's enough. That's enough. And say I read 500 pages out of it, that a 2,000-page epic of some kind, and just mark it as DNF in there, and that will also take it off of your TBR count. But one of the things I like to do is if I read 500 pages of that book, I still want to count those pages, but I don't want it to filter into the other numbers. If you don't have a problem with that, I think you can put everything into here and not worry about it. Although mostly a lot of the categories will only count a book if it has a finish date. The status one does contribute to a few tabs, but the finish date is sort of like the final. It's the final. I don't want to say nail in the coffin because that's not what we're doing here. The final measure for a lot of the statistics that come from this spreadsheet. A lot of them coincide with searching for an end date for the book. So we'll just say tilde S Winton, who is not the actress. We also have Boris blah blah, who wrote his own book apparently. And then we can have, I don't know, anybody really. There. So we can throw in some whatever there. So most of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. You know, you can fill in any number of things for this. And I might bring up my my spreadsheet from 2018 to show you, like, which I've actually made match all this. If anybody wants a link to the 2018 spreadsheet so they can throw their 2018 stuff into it, let me know. I can post that too. Because what I end up doing is I end up revising the previous year's spreadsheet fully before I carry it all over to 2019. That way I can test it all with really good numbers and data. So some of these have been rearranged just for a little bit more, to be a little bit more straightforward in accessibility. And maybe I could probably lift some of those. Here, let's go do that. Let's go find my spreadsheet. Should be this one. Oh, no, that's not the right one. Yes, here we go. Okay, let's just grab, this could be a problem. Here, let's do this. Now I've gone and done it. I'm just going to go to categories really quickly and just blanket paste all this stuff. Now these are not 2019 numbers either. Or I could just show you the 2018 one. That should be fine. Hope most of this will be the same. No, let's do this right. 1 second here. Let's just grab all of this. And then I should be able to pop into those acquisitions. Yeah, we're going to be brutally honest about all my stuff here. Is that going to paste? Yes, it will. All right. Now we're not going to change all of this. We're just going to go some of this to 2019 dates or something. Oh, that's 2018. Whoops, I'm not even changing it. Here. Let's make this a lot easier. So ideally, by the end of the year, you'll have a bunch of information in here that really. Oh, it's still going 2018. Come on. Okay. So we've got some 2019 dates there. This should, yeah. Fill that in. Let's go to the book survey side of things and grab some stuff from here. So, okay. So here we go. Oh, and camera's for. I'm not sure to turn the camera off. Alrighty. So now that we've got some stuff in here, and we'll just say we've got that one thing in DNF, let's pop over to the summary. And this is where the biggest number of changes, in fact, are. Now, a lot of the columns and tables have been reorganized. I printed the whole thing out on paper and decided to put things in a more logical place. So right now, these three columns here are these three columns going all the way down are things pertaining to what was read. These columns over here pertain to acquisition. So hopefully that's a little more straightforward. So that way you can also cross-reference and check. Oops. Yeah. Okay. Don't want to go up then. So you can cross-reference and check, say, your genres out of everything. Now, the one thing about the book survey is, of course, all these dates will be poo-pooed, which is fine. You know what? Let's just do this blanket paste thing. Whoops. Oh, heck, yeah, it's way easier. Boom, boom. Things I should have prepped beforehand, but... Okay. So you can also keep track of your currently reading. So if you have a thing that you are done, it doesn't really show up. But if you're currently reading it, it will show up as... That's not disappearing. Not going to worry about that. This is the dummy demo one, so there could be some problems. But so if we go to our summary, we see that we've got things like genre and pages, and over here you can see the same thing. Although I know that, anyway, you can see, hey, I've read 21 fantasy books, but I bought 7 fantasy books. So it's a little easier to cross-reference some of these things between in terms of what's coming in, what's going out. To change, we can also see the numbers that we entered up here from the Get Started tab. So going back to the book survey, or no, the summary, sorry. So from the Get Started tab, you don't have to fill them in here anymore. You can do it on the other, on the Get Started tab. And so here you can also set the dates for the area that you want to scan, the date range that you want to look at. Right now on this spreadsheet, everything is set to 2019. If you want to change things to different any other year for certain categories, you will have to do it. Any of these things that are marked with the blue, you'll have to go into the cells and manually change them. Recently, a person or a number of individuals have reached out and let me know that there is a way to get around this and basically have it be year agnostic so that it never has to reference those ever again, which is great. But the problem is right now I haven't had time to go through and change all that. I started to put in the formula, but it didn't quite work out, and so I have a few more things to check with them before we go in and add that formula. Okay, so the big thing that I added last minute, I was sitting there going, wait a minute, I'm tracking all this money and spending from acquisitions. Why am I not using? Why am I not doing a budget tracker as well? That'd be so cool. So this year we have a budget tracker, and it'll basically say, hey, this is your budget for the year. This is your budget per month. It'll take your monthly goal, add it up into a yearly amount. You can also say, hey, I've spent this much so far this year. And it'll tell you how much you have remaining as a yearly amount, and there's more information down at the bottom. So let's zip over to that. So down here, just to the right, we have our acquisitions and our little budget thing. So all the information from acquisitions is still in here. And it'll tell us like how much we're spending, how much we read, the average book amount. Oh, and we also have it set up so if you enter like if you got the book and you know you got the book at a bargain, you can enter the list price, and it'll say, hey man, you would have spent this much when you really spent that much. So you can actually look at your savings. So they'll say, hey, you saved this much getting books from the library because this is the value of books you got from the library if you bought it all new. This is how much you saved on your purchases, and then this is how much we estimate that you saved based on all of the numbers put together from a bunch of different sources. So it also tells you how many books you buy per month, how much you're spending per month. The cost per page one is back. That's kind of a trivial piece of statistic, but it's interesting to know how much it actually costs you every time your fingers turn that page. Is any of this useful in terms of reading quality of the books that you're reading? No, not so much, but I don't know. It's all just numbers, right? This is literally for the curiosity of it all. So it'll also tell you how much you're saving, estimated how much you're saving per month. Now, the thing down here is we now have the monthly spending tracker, so you can actually be a little more refined with how you are tracking those numbers. And these fonts don't look right to me. No, they're right. All right. But they are supposed to be font size 12. That I will have to change. Okay. So if you say you spent $23.61 in a month, you've got $6.39 remaining. But you can also have this set up so if you want, you can ignore, if you want to just do it by month and never have any amounts carry over, any extra amounts carry over, you can always just look at this column. right? And this will tell you how much you have remaining per month. So if you have 1801 remaining at the end of February and you don't want, and you're not going to spend that money, just go to the next month, and this will tell you how much you have remaining in March. If you want to do if you do want to carry those amounts over into like an accumulated overall budget for the year, you can do that. So because I had $6.39 left, I spent 79% of my budget, and it means the next month, instead of spending $30, it'll take the $30 and add it with that $6.39. But because I've spent $18.01 in February, hypothetically, it'll say, hey, you actually have $24.40 remaining. So as long as this is in the green, you're actually pretty good. So if I change this, I don't recommend doing this because there's a formula on this cell. Yeah, there's a formula on that cell you don't want to change. But if I switch this to say like 50, say I really overspent, $200. $3,000. Okay, something's not right here. The conditional formatting on this is not working the way that it should. But I know that it does because I tested this. Okay. And sometimes we find problems. See? The value is less than 0. Oh, okay, so if sorry, I know what I did wrong. That was the remaining amount. So if I spent $500 here, and I really went over on that one, that's, okay, say I went over budget, and this thing should now say minus 50. Congratulations, you've gone over budget. That's, okay, that's my thinking. So you go over budget, this thing will say, hey, you don't get to carry over this money per month. So instead of $30, you're still over by $13.61 for the month of March. So don't spend any money on books, Brock, until you get to your next green month. That's the core of that right there. So as long as this is in the green, you technically have money to spend on books and stay within budget. You start hitting the red, and you might have a few problems there. So again, so I spend $150 at the start. It'll say, hey, you can't spend money until the month of June. Good going. Anyway, it's just another way to keep track of things. That's one of the big changes we have here for budgets. One of the things I wanted to do and didn't get in place last year, and this was especially for Giselle, was the decades thing. The decades tab has been expanded. So instead of it saying from the year 2000 to 2000 and I guess it'd be 2010 to 2020 now, instead of these years being one section, this section, it's now a bit more granular. So now we have 2010 to 2020 as separate things, just because this is where a lot of the reading tends to happen. As much as we don't want to admit it, we as a culture actually read a lot of stuff that's very, very recent, even so the last 5 to 10 years. And so that's why these decades are split out into their own decades, but this is expanded. Anyway, let's just see. Let's look at other changes we have here. So, we went through the Get Started tab. We went through categories. I should bring up, one second here. Mouse. Okay. Now, I know that people do want to, I know the big concern is, I'm looking at comments now, this is what I'm doing, that people do have concerns about keeping up with the spreadsheet, but you don't really have to. Take 2 minutes to fill out the date and the title. Everything else follows later. I'll spend a fair bit of time on Goodreads looking up like publishing information after the fact, or like once a month I'll hop on and fill in some of the things. If you have the book in hand, most of the information can come from that. How many pages you have, the year it was published, and the author, that kind of thing. So there is also, and I will be answering questions a little bit later. What else is new here? So we've already went through I keep wanting to say accusations, but the accusations tab, where you really just, level straight with the books that you're buying. How dare you, book? But whether you buy or borrow, it's all the same in under accusations. So if you didn't finish a book, take it off the book survey, put it on DNF. We covered that. So there's been a slight visual cleanup. We have more publishers. Here we go. So publishers. Before publishers was at the top of the spreadsheet, and it usually people were like, I've run out. What do I do? And every year I kept trying to make it bigger, and every year I ended up not getting it enough. So we have publisher imprint, and it now goes to 100 publishers. This better be enough, or I'm just going to lose my mind. If you don't, if you need more publishers and you want to go beyond this, just highlight these. I think you can do it. Actually highlight these 3 groups here at the very bottom. Grab this little dot and drag down to your heart's content. Right there. Now we have. I mean, the lines and formatting there are all kind of funky, but you can now track a few hundred publishers if you want, or 1,000. Come on, that's all you have to do. And this is same for countries. You can grab these 3 columns, grab the little dot, drag down. So that will expand it for you. So, and the same thing for the acquisitions publisher. So we got that. Great. So if by some catastrophe you exhaust even this generous amount that I provided, go to the bottom and select the cells. The summary will cull your books for the longest and shortest of the year. It's one I added to my own, but never actually put into the thing here. So it can say, hey, the longest book you read was this title, and the shortest book you read was that title. Oathbringer by Brandon J. Sanderson. No, Oathbringer by Brandon Sanderson. Don't know why I put a J in there. And Mystic and Mundane, a poetry book by Sabrina Rourke, was the shortest book I read. And it was fantastic. Everybody should go and buy it. So, something I promised to do last year was the decades thing, and Giselle, I will answer your question about that in a second. So we did budgets. Great, checking that off. Now, 2019 is also the year that I've decided to stop fearing the pivot table. We'll come to charts in a second. If you go to publishers and you go to authors, I should probably rename publishers because countries are in here too. We have pivot tables, and this will actually give us some information that is a little bit harder to throw into the summary tab because of how many publishers people can actually have. And these ones need to be a little bit more dynamic because there could be so many results above and beyond what is in the summary page. So to easily update these things, or these things will call your spreadsheet for all the information that they need, but you might need to update them a little bit, and it's really easy. So say I have a bunch of publishers in here, but it's only showing 3 of them. If you click on this, the blue bit in here, and come down to this little tab will appear, this pivot table editor. If you go down to filters and select status, you can then hit select all. I simply uncheck the blank one, hit OK, and this will update to show all the publishers. Now, as an example, I'll just uncheck these 3 here, 4 here, hit OK, they'll disappear. So if you have things that this always needs, so if you add to your options under categories and then fill in more books, this thing might not know to go looking for them. But if you hit to do that, you go to, click on that, select all, remove blanks, hit OK, and it'll update to everything it can find on the spreadsheet. And so this way you can see more the publishers of what you're acquiring, the same for what is happening under the book survey, and the same with countries. So you can get a lot of information this way. And this comes direct from the book survey. So even if you don't feel comfortable modifying the summary tables, just go to the pivot table and select it here, and that way you can get a lot of the information from it. And it'll also come in with percentages and grand totals and stuff. The same for the author's pivot table. This one is not blue. It should be blue. I guess I forgot to do that. I'll need to make some changes to the spreadsheet itself, but that's okay. So here it'll say, hey, these are the most read authors that you had throughout this year. So I can see, hey, I read 3 Claire Norths. Apparently I was a big Claire North fan this year. And Robert Jackson Bennett, and of course P.T. Hilton. P.T. Hilton, guess what? You're up there with my most read authors of the year, including Lois McMaster Bujold. So you're in really good company right now. P.T. That's a personal shout out to P.T. Hilton, wonderful self-published author. Now, we covered that. So, do you read lots of series? The series tab is back. Most of that is the same. This is a good way to look at series. It can help you remind you if it's book 1, if it's book 4, or book 40 billion, and those long-running series. I wish I had it filled out here. I do not. I'm not going to go through and actually show that. But the big thing of it is that if you have a book and you're waiting for the next book to be published, say I finished book 5 and I'm waiting for book 6, and I know that book 6 is going to come out on, January 23rd, this will tell you if it's actually published. So if the book was published in the past, it'll say, hey, you can go pick up that book now. And then there's a bunch of other statistics that fall into this. I may fill some of this out for the actual template so that people can get the gist of what's going on, but I have it blank on my demo version right now. Another new tab series tracking is old, but the new tab is new releases, and this is one thing we put in to track for things that are coming up. So if we have a really anticipated book by hot new author, you can throw the release date in here, and it will tell you if the book is out or not. So you see these ones green. Hey, it's time to head over to a bookshop or your library and find the book. Just one of those little things that I was like, hey, one of the things I've never really done is keep track of my most anticipated reads like everybody else does, and I need to do that. Now, to keep track, this is a good way to keep track of the mountain of novels that are being published this year. And so you can put your most anticipated new releases with it. Yeah. On the magical day it turns green, you can expect it on shelves. Yes, spreadsheets are my life now. Please feel free to use what you want and ignore what you don't. What you can, on the very last tab, of course, is the charts tab. So, not a lot has changed on this one. It's all the changes have been kind of behind the scenes kind of stuff that don't really affect how you see or perceive this. That's pretty much it. But once you've filled in information under acquisitions or book survey, you get all these little charts to feel happy about. The numbers are nice. It's kind of go, oh yeah, yes. The colors right now, the one thing I wanted to do is make the colors a little more themed, but because I want to keep this thing open and dynamic for the thousands of uses that people may have, the varied uses that people may have for a lot of these things, I decided, well, I'm just going to keep this as is. I think the only thing that we took out was it the reviewed tab? There was a reviewed tab where it's like, have I reviewed it? Have I not? I did a chart here for it, and I took that out. Is there a reviewed? I think I took reviewed out. Yeah, looking at this. I'm not sure if that's a good idea or not. I just found that I never used it when I had it in there. Although I think a few other people did contact me and say that they did. Yeah. So I think, this is all pretty much the same. And so all the goodness of this is still here. Oh, test format. That's not good. I guess I forgot to delete this thing. Well, I guess I know what I got to do on. Okay. I'm gonna write this one down so I can go change it on the big thing. Delete test format chart. Okay. Let's see. I think that covers most of it. I think that covers most of it. All right, I'm gonna open this up to questions right now. We can look at what's going on in the chat thing here. So, spreadsheet. I wish I could keep up with it. Yeah, keeping up with it's always. Oop, and my camera's still frozen. Bye-bye. Keeping up with it can be daunting because there's a lot of stuff to enter, but I don't know. I don't know. For me, it's I'm just in the habit of it where you finish a book and I'll take the 3 minutes to just say, I'll take 3 minutes to double click, fill in whatever I can under the book survey, and that's pretty much it. Everything else I throw in after. Like I do lots of catch up. Like the one thing I haven't done this year is take all my Goodreads ratings and actually fill in ratings. I just have not filled them in. And even I don't think some of the series I might not have filled in either. But I left this blank. I always leave this one blank until the very end of the year, and then I just copy all my Goodreads settings over from it. So, I mean, I don't know. Fill in what you're curious about. If you're not curious about a certain category, don't fill it in. Just skip it. You can delete it from this page. You can delete it from a page if it's bothering you. And then the only thing it will do is it'll just break the chart, and the chart will just say, no information underneath it or anything. So, I mean, if it's going to stress you out, don't do it. And okay, so Brandy Walls is saying, I wish there was a section to track all the books I own and how long I've owned them, or is there? One of the things that there's been two general requests that I've kind of gotten every year, which would be kind of a big undertaking, I think, for me, is a TBR page where you have all the books that are on your TBR listed, and then another section like this is kind of similar to that is all the books that I own and how long I've owned them. And while it's possible to make those, it's what is it? It's still like they'd be pretty simple, I think, because for the most part, you'd let's just duplicate the book survey, for example, and let's just rename this shelf just for the heck of it. Let's just see what it would take to brainstorm this out. Okay, so we pretty much have, that's pretty good there. All right, we're just going to delete everything sort of from here on. Can I just, how do I delete like everything after this part? This is always the fun part because I don't really touch spreadsheets at all. I only ever do this in like September through October when I actually start to revise the spreadsheet itself. Okay, so for that something like that, I would almost have Oathbringer I would almost have like say pretend these are books on the shelf that you have on your shelf. I'd put in this instead of start date, I would just be like this is totally roughing out, had since, which would be like, or on shelf since, or you'd have like obtained on. And then I'd make this column into just a calculator that would basically count how many days it's been since this date. I'd have to look up the formula for that. And that's pretty much it. And then you could always just write, status. If I leave the status one, and then if you've read it or not. And then everything else I would delete. Really? I mean, yeah, there's more to it than that, but that's what I would imagine I would do with like a TBR or a on-the-shelf kind of thing. Because maybe I could do it with one sheet. Have all the books that you own, and then at the bottom you can just add books that are on your TBR. Now, none of that would affect the book survey or these numbers in the summary. Like it wouldn't actually up your TBR or lower your TBR. I would, if I put it into the spreadsheet, I would have it be neutral, so that it doesn't affect anything under the stats. Just because of, I do rather like the using the acquisitions tab and the book survey tab and the DNF tab to kind of keep track of those numbers, because they're all kind of they all kind of what am I trying to say? They all affect each other, and then to have another table like a shelf that affects that too I think you end up getting with a lot of duplicate information that doesn't necessarily need to be duplicated, or it would cause like double numbers and that kind of thing. Okay, so Heroic Pages is asking, how did you track purchases from gift cards? Would you just put things on as free? And that's one thing I kind of overdid when I cleared out these categories. So you can do purchase, gift. Where's that other tab? I like putting them as gift. So if I have a gift card, I like listing it as gift. For sure. I like being able to put gift because it just, yeah. So if we look at, yeah, I bet you I pasted this in. So purchase, gift, free, ARC, library, and shelf are the ones I usually do. So putting in gift works for gift cards, you know, because like free, I think of things like little free libraries, or if there was like, sometimes you see those shelves where it's like, just take a book kind of thing. Or if I found one on a bench, if, you know, certain publishers or even gift people, gifty people who are generous will leave a book on a shelf, on a bench with like a note saying, here, take a book. I hope you enjoy it. I enjoyed it. You should read this. There's actually a society that does that. You have to, I can't remember their name, and you have to sign up and register for them. But they'll leave books in places, and you can actually look this thing up. It's kind of like that GPS treasure hunting term that also escapes me right now. But you can find out where some of these books are, go and pick them up. And mostly it's just on benches and in park places, and they're there for very short periods of time because people find them. Giselle Bradley asks, how can I change what years are up to make classics easier to track? Right. So if we go to our book, go to the summary. Essentially, one of the things that I recently saw, and this would be a really good update to come in the future, is that I was sent a chart that has, I should really look up the name. I'm very embarrassed that I didn't. I should point you towards it because he has, with the help of some other booktubers as well. Let me see here. His name is the DT. So on Twitter, he's at the DT Sniper. And he's been working with Leah Cooper Writes, who has a booktube channel, and she's lovely. I'm subscribed to her. She well, him and a few other people have all come up with a better solution. Oh, I'm not even in the right spot. A better solution for this little area. So what they've got, you can actually enter the years that you want to track, and it's rather clever. So I mean, right now to change these years, you don't really have to do anything. It's all in here. You can enter, if I wanted to, you can just change these years, essentially. So this is the first. If I select this cell in the equation up here, you can basically modify this year and this year to whatever you want. And that becomes your date range that it's looking for. The one that he has, or that was sent to me, has two different cells where you can enter the start date, the start year, and the end year. And then this will go and figure that. And it's way more customizable than what I have. So I may need to integrate that into the spreadsheet because that will work out. That will essentially allow you to customize it. So if you wanted to track, say you only read books from 2000 BC and previous, right? You could switch all of these columns to do that. Okay. So Heroic Pages says, and I'm using, my brain is also shutting down. I'm using YouTube and Twitter names here as they come up, just because I'm brain dead. And the thing is, I put it as a gift and still track the cost and list price. It counts against the budget. Ah, yes. Okay, I think I understand now. So if I go into acquisitions, if I get something as a gift, and I know it was new, I always put the cost as 0. If it was a gift card. Now, I still count it as a gift. You know, whether, so really I just put 0. It cost, me personally, cost nothing. And I'll still put the list price in. Now, technically, is it really a savings? No, because somebody did pay, you know, for you to have a gift or something. And that, see, this is what's interesting too. I love learning how people actually use these things, because then it shows me where I haven't thought things through. So if it was a gift card, and we got it, and because I feel like, let me see here. Actually, I should look at what I did with, these were gifts. Where is the stuff I bought in New York? Because that stuff I bought with my per diem money. Actually, Raven Cry and Empire of Silence. I bought this with per diem money, and so I actually did list that. Oh. I did list them as gifts, and I did enter the full amount of the purchase. Because in that case, I felt like I actually was buying it, because it was money that I actually could... It was extra money that I had, not money that was really gifted to me that way. But for the most part, I enter 0. I'm just... if there's a different way to... If there's a different way to interpret that, I'm sure there is. Or I mean, we could make a gift card category. Just make one that says gift card under acquired. And then you still could enter. Yeah, all you need is really all you have to do is go. Let me just try this out. You could go gift card. I can go to the acquisitions. I could switch this to say gift card. I could enter $50 here. And if I go to, say it was a really expensive book, and all I'd have to do is make a little gift card category here that searches for gift card. So under categories, that would be acquired, so F9. So just over here, I'm going to just write, I'm just roughing this out. This will not be in the spreadsheet. I'm just going to go boom, boom, and switch this to categories F9. It should tell us. Gift card, 50. Oh, that's looking at savings. I don't want to look at the savings, am I? Yeah, sorry. I need this equation instead. Okay, what equation do I actually need? Okay, here we go. Sum if. I just need to make sure I get the right equation. I don't think I'm using... That's also a sum if. OOLL. OOKK. Let's try this out. Okay, so now if I go to F9, 0. Am I getting the right cell there? Switch this to currency. Mine defaults to Canadian currency, so I actually end up going to format number dollar, just because I don't like the CA in front of it. If you are in a different country, you should be able to go into document details. Oh, no, sorry. Spreadsheet settings, and you can switch your local area, and that will switch a couple things for you, like function dates and currency. It may keep these US dollars, but to undo that and redo it, all you have to do is click on this. Click on the little dollar symbol up here, depending on the region you're in, and it should be different, and that'll pop that over to your currency. This thing is not measuring exchange rates of any kind, this spreadsheet. So if it isn't displaying the right currency for your area, do not worry about it. The dollar is superficial in this case. Like, this whole spreadsheet for me is tracking American dollars, but maybe track it like library savings. Yes, I think that'd be the way to do it. So why something else? I'm missing something from this equation. I know that. Okay, so if I go back to my categories and I say F9, which is right, acquisitions, it's how we're calculating the numbers in here. That's probably, where was that? A gift card. Okay, so, right, so say I had a $25 gift card, and right, that's only going to display if it's above a certain amount. So If it was a $25 book, but when it was a gift card and it was from that, then this thing will now read properly. But that's still not the right. Oh, no. OLLL. So what are we tracking here? We are tracking. Ah, okay. So I'm not tracking this tab. That's why. I need to do KK. Sorry, we can actually add up. Yeah, this is way simpler than I thought. Okay. I've got too much extra information here. Nah, okay. So acquisitions, SUMIF, categories F9. I'm missing a piece of information from this now. The book survey will help me out with that. No, summary will help. The equation I really need is probably something like... That's all date related. Never mind. COUNTIF. No, I need a SUMIF. This is the part where I get to look like I don't know what I'm talking about because so SUMIF KK category is F9. So it's going to search column K. Actually, no, no, this is the right thing. Yeah. So it needs to look for gift card, and gift card is categories. F9. Not crazy, but something isn't right. K2K maybe, because of the stuff we have before it. That should give me a return. I mean, if I can also type in, quotes. Why is this not working for me now? Is my keyboard set to something I don't want it to be set to now? Uh-oh. Why is my, something is wrong with my keyboard itself. I can't enter the quotation that I need. This is hilarious. Okay, well, there is a way to do it. I might need to get back to you on that one. Okay, would you do, Giselle is asking, would you do that this year or waiting until next? I would likely do it this year. For sure, because I don't think I would want to leave it. It's a pretty simple change once I have what they've got in front of me. Enchanted Library. Oh, hello. Sorry if you've already covered this, but if I started a book in December 2018, will that mess with stats, or should I default it to be January 1st, 2019? No, you can actually enter. You can enter dates. The start date is not important to a lot of the calculation. So if you started a book in, all these things were listed as 2018, and they still show up fine under the summary and everything. So you can, any date previous. It could even be, you could start at January 1st, the year 1, and it should still track every book for you. So things like this year specifically, or for 2018, because I started Oathbringer in 2017. And I didn't finish it until I don't know, it was partway through January when I actually finished it. It still counted. Like it'll still track that just fine. Shouldn't be any problems. Tracking it like library savings. I guess we're back to this one. That's I wish my keyboard was working because I go to enter quotation marks and it gives me symbols that I don't want right now. It must be, do I have it set to French? Oh dear. Let's see. Let me see what my problem is here. Canada, English, Canada, Canada. US QWERTY, Canadian Multilingual Standard. Let's just go US QWERTY and see what happens. Okay, there we go. Yep, I had it set to multilingual standard, so that's what we get. Let's escape that. So it's searching K2K, and I want it to find gift card. Okay. Sum if. I do want a sum because it's a dollar amount we're looking for. Let's do this from scratch. Let's just do this here so we can see everything. So equal sum if. We're searching K2. Actually, because I want to transfer this into the other acquisitions, exclamation point, K2 : K. And I know I've spelled acquisitions wrong, haven't I? C. ACQ UI acquisitions. There we go. K2K, comma, categories, exclamation point, F9, close bracket. So that's just an addition one. Also addition. I guess I can have it amount to 0, but I want some summary. Let's try an if error statement instead. So I want you to sum up. Yep. Let's just get rid of that because I don't need a monthly chart. And acquisitions, exclamation point, K2 : K, comma, or is it space? Space, categories, exclamation point, F9. Usually there's a comma in there, or do I need it to actually... Oh, okay, we have a dollar amount now, but that's just because the error is returning 0. I know, but it's the only thing I have to do. Anyway, I'll figure this. I'll figure more of this out. I mean, nothing's holding me up. I've covered all the stuff that I want to. I've covered all the stuff that I want to cover anyway. But that'd be a good one, is to... Oh, wait a minute. Okay. Well, I do have this gift thing down here. But I think the reason why I didn't do gift cards is because I actually felt... Aha! Duh. I'm already doing it. There we go. That's the number we need. G. See? It's easy. So if I format number $sign that, there actually was a specific reason why I didn't do a breakout gift card section, and I can't believe I forgot this, and even why I'm a little hesitant to do like an ARC section to say, hey, I got $35 worth of ARC copies or something, is that I felt uncomfortable tracking it, because I didn't want that to be the focus of, oh man, I only got this much of ARCs, or I only got this much of gifts. I don't know, I feel like something like a gift or something provided to you by somebody is a generosity, and it isn't something that I didn't want there to be a comparison as much with other things. I mean, here we have it for arcs, gifts, and everything. It doesn't tell you how much like you saved, but I also didn't. I remember why I did it that way, because I was kind of hesitant to make that a metric, because I didn't want feelings to get involved, where it's like, oh, this person only spent this much on me, or that kind of thing. I just didn't want to invoke that kind of feeling because of a measurement, because of a number here that just says, this is what you got. Like, it's good to get gifts, I think, and people love you. People love you, and that's why they get you something, or they're showing generosity, or because of any number of reasons. But I think that's why I didn't include it initially, is because I felt bad. I was like, I don't really know if I want to know, because I don't know if I want to. I don't know if I want to feel that way. I want to feel grateful for what somebody gave me, not I want to feel. You know what I'm saying. I'm just repeating myself now, but I didn't want there to be a. I didn't want there to be a envy or other emotions stirred. And with that, I'm speechless. I need some water. 1 second. All right. So with that, I've gone actually way over time. I've done about an hour here. I wanted to do this in like 20 minutes, but that's what happens when you get sidetracked. Okay. I get what you mean with the feeling. Mostly my gift cards come from work perks. I don't really get gifts from others, so it's something I wanted to make note of. Oh, well, that's fine, I think. I didn't actually put... Yeah, I think that's why I did it this way. I have, like, hey, this is how much was given to as a gift, but it wasn't like a comparison with, like, savings or anything like that. I think some of the gift numbers do get lumped into estimated savings. Not really, though. Yeah, they kind of do. I think they do. Yeah. So like this thing here, estimated savings, just adds up everything. I felt it was better to, I mean, really, we could just find out how much it is. All we need to do is subtract these two numbers from this, and we'd probably get our number. I bet. That's all we'd really have to do to find out. But yeah. I may withhold doing that. Actually, a gift card one's probably not too bad. I don't know. I'm going to be debating that one for a while. I will be making some changes to the spreadsheet, just some minor ones right now. For things like the decade and year thing, that will probably be down the road a bit. I don't want to promise any definite time, because I do want to step away from it for a little bit. What is it? I think for the year agnostic things, so that you don't have to basically download a new spreadsheet anymore to keep track of these changes, like this kind of stuff here, I think I might get that put in within the next week or so, depending where my time is. I'm going back to work this week, and so my time might be a bit limited, but that's one thing I want to change. Apparently, all I should have to do is write and year in here. Like, I think it's just, I don't know, it's this equals and year. It's something like that, and it's not working right. I don't understand the equation fully. I have to actually look at what they've done on their end of things to see. Because it's something like that. There's just a little thing you write in and year, and how it's structured in this actually solves all the problems that I have changing this every year. So, and then the decades one, their equation's pretty straightforward. It's kind of interesting how there's one thing that I have to figure out how I want to integrate it into this, because theirs actually does this subtraction thing. It takes a date. It takes the item from here. It subtracts the number of years that currently exist, and that subtraction doesn't quite gel with how I want to use the numbers. And so I need to take their equation, and I need to understand what they're doing, and I need to maybe find another place to pull that number from. Or I just need to test out what they've done a lot and see what they've got. So that's the kind of thing that might be like a month away. I will try to do it within a month. I think that's what I would like to do. In the meantime, though, you should be able to change these numbers to your liking. Like just change these dates or these years to what you want. Start year, end year in terms of searching, and then just change your reference here to this. So if I, say instead of the 40s, if I only wanted to do books from 1941, you could do 1941 and I believe 1941. And yeah, that's what it should be. Yeah, if in the 40s here, if I just do 1941 and 1941, it'll do that. And then if you want to do more of these and have like a ton of different separate individual granular years, actually copy this chart, paste it somewhere where there's room, and then start adding to it where you need to. I tried to make this easy. Oh yeah, this is one thing I did. So if you do want more rooms for some of these categories, for the most part, all you have to do is just make sure that the row is kind of clear. And I've tried to make little spaces so that the row itself is clear. So if I wanted to, I could go in here, go insert. Right now it's just like one above, or one below. And I can insert columns just to add a little bit of extra space if you want to add more. And that way you can, basically just replicate these formulas. I can grab all this one here. So if I only wanted to do books for the year 2025, I can just paste this equation from here. I'm just going to switch this font to Nanito. I've defaulted everything to a larger font size. That's another change. Everything's like 12 when it used to be 10. So it's a little bit larger, easier to read, I think. Of course, it all depends on your computer and devices you're on. So if I wanted to look at books from 2025, all I have to do is click on the equation or the cell, go to the equation, and change that from 2025 to 2025. And this thing is already set to look for books from 2025. So if I go 2025, great. Now if we go back to our book survey and I go to my publishing year, I should be able to enter 2025 to a couple books here and have that update no problem. There. We got 3 books there already. So that's how you can kind of add years to that, right? But if I can make this customizable, then it'll be a heck of a lot easier. The one thing too with the equation that they're using for their customizing is that it's not simple to add to it yet. Like if I wanted to just add more publishers, how easy it is to do that now. I couldn't do that with the equation that they're using. It would cause a few problems. So I need to I want to take what they've got because it's really, really good. But I need to make it so that when other people use this, they can use it without thinking, essentially. Okay, so what else do we have? Shannon Riddler. Hi, Shannon. I don't have a question. Wanted to say, oh, it's not a question. Okay. Thank you for doing this spreadsheet. Oh, you're welcome. I love doing this every year. It's actually a lot of fun. I enjoy doing this. Mostly for me. I just do it for me, to be honest. But I don't know. But because I spent so much time doing it, I was like, well, if I'm going to do it, I could also just make it available for people to use, right? Because then, I don't know. It's knowing how much setup it is. I was like, I can understand why people wouldn't want to do it. And so, if I can make something available and they can find out information about what they're reading and what they're spending and that kind of thing, about any number of categories, then hooray, they get to find it out for themselves and they don't have to do much work, or they don't have to do as much, which is fine. I'm happy to do it every year. And yeah. I think what I'm going to do is I might end the stream right now. I think I've covered everything I want to cover. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end the stream, but I'm going to start another stream where I'm actually playing. I'm going to go play Kerbal Space Program or something because I just need something to chill. It's Saturday night, and I think I'm just going to go go play some video games where I blow up spaceships crashing into the moon or something. So if anybody wants to stick around and chat, that'd be fine. If not, dang it, I was going to outro this first so that this thing ends like a proper YouTube video. Oh, that's good. I shared the spreadsheet with someone new to the BookTube world. She told me it was motivating her to read, so that's awesome. Oh, that's great. I hope this spreadsheet provides more pleasure than frustration to people. I never want it to be a burden. I don't want people to feel guilty about what they're reading, or if they're not reading enough, or if their numbers aren't good. Like a good example for me is every year on charts, or if we go down to, for this one here, TBR progress. This is not accurate to what I actually did this year. The numbers aren't all there, but this is the one that worries me the most, because my TBR grows more than it shrinks. And so I feel a little bit bad, but I keep this chart here because I don't feel super bad about it. You know, I don't feel super bad about it. I like that this is here because I don't know. It's just it's one of those things I like to know. Am I reading, and is my pile getting smaller, or am I reading, is my pile getting bigger? Either way, I actually feel okay about it. And so I always want this spreadsheet to be something that you know, people can go, oh, that's neat trivia about the stuff that I read. You know, even financially. The first year I did this, I put in like how much I was spending on stuff, and I was like, holy crap, I am spending so much money on books. But compared to the larger picture of, you know, out of my income and out of how much I make per year, it was only this amount, and which is like it becomes like a in the overall picture of how much I spend on just like the daily living stuff when it comes to like rent and food and that kind of thing. It actually wasn't. It wasn't alarming in that kind of perspective, and that's the kind of thing you have to be careful of with numbers, is that there's always what you're comparing and what you're comparing it to may have different scales, and if you can look at it as objectively as possible, you know, you can find out things about your reading and about the numbers that you have that kind of inform you. Like, you know, there are a few surprises every year with the numbers that I have where I go, oh, I managed to reduce my spending overall. I think year over year it's been I've managed to reduce my spending by about a third every single year. And yet I don't feel like I have shortchanged myself in like the number of books that I've been able to actually read. And so, yeah, I don't want money to be the focus. I want this to be also purposed around things like libraries and the usage there, because the amount of money that you can actually save, like when you compare the numbers, the amount of money you get the amount of money you get in savings from a library is tremendous. Like, libraries are incredibly valuable. You know, even if you only get like 2 or 3 books from the library, that's still like, you know, that could be like anywhere from like $50 to $75 that you're not spending if you're buying brand new hardcovers or something. You know, like there's, you know, and it's good, and you know, maybe it can help you balance or, you know, refocus what you want to do a little bit, but you know, I think it's good to learn that kind of stuff. Just for me, it's fun. Mostly for me, it's fun, and I enjoy doing it. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments and your questions, and for downloading the spreadsheet this year. My Twitter feed was quite busy this year with many people offering thanks and asking questions about it, and I have been overwhelmed. On the front page of the spreadsheet, this one's pink only because it's an example one. I just needed to remember. I color-coded it so I could know which spreadsheet I'm actually working on. There are a number of people who have contributed and helped out with this spreadsheet. They are all listed here. There are people who I have not listed here that I will probably need to add in the coming couple weeks as I add and integrate things into the spreadsheet. They are all wonderful people. Some of them are booktubers. Some of them have blogs. Some of these links are active. A couple might be dead now, depending on if they've switched to a different blog or if they have different channels. But they're all wonderful people, and I am forever grateful for their help. I am eternally grateful for your help and comments in helping to refine this spreadsheet. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and we'll talk to you later.